everyone. We have some math workbook pages to do. I know that we have most of our math work online this week, but we're going to do some math workbook pages alongside that learning online to really help us learn about comparing. So today in our math workbook pages, we're going to be comparing weight, which is another kind of measurement that we compare. Could you please turn to your math workbook page 38? We're skipping ahead a couple of pages. Skipping to page 38. 38, turning in our math workbook pages. And when you turn to page 38, you should see there's some fruit on the top here. In the middle, looks like some animals. And on the bottom, looks like some objects of some kind. Turning to page 38. Okay. And before we get started with that, I want to talk a little bit about a tool that we can use to measure certain weights. I'm going to try it on my computer and see if this works. We can use a tool called a scale. Looks like this. If you've seen a scale before, would you put a check in the air? And if you haven't seen a scale before, would you please put a check in the air? Or maybe you think you haven't, maybe you think you have. Yeah, so this is new to a lot of people. Some people have seen it before. This is called a scale. We use this to help us measure weight. I wonder if I can put this right. No, it needs to be a little bit higher. Okay, so if you can see, oh, I need to put it this way so you can see my little line. There we go. There's a little arrow right here in the middle of our weight. This is showing us that our weight is even right now. This side is the same weight as this side. So when we put, and it's harder to see because I'm holding it so it moves around a little bit, but they're just about the same weight because you can see if I put more weight on this side, then it would fall down. And then our arrow, our little point here, would go to the other side, showing that this side is heavier than this side. If I went to this side becomes heavier, and you can see this little point moves to this side. So I want us to think right now, if we had a marker and a pencil, and we put one in one side and one in the other, which do you think is going to be or weigh more than the other? Would you point to the one that you think is going to weigh more than the other object? Okay, I see a few markers, see a couple pencils. Let's try it out. So I'm putting one object in one side. You can see because I put all the weight in one side that it all moved over. Now let's put the pencil in. It didn't move at all. So that means that our marker is heavier than our pencil. Remembering what Mr. Gallagher talked in his math video yesterday about using our base comparison. When you say something is heavier than this side, we can say the pencil is lighter than the marker. I'm wondering, let's try out our math workbook page because it looks very similar to what we just looked at on our scale. Could you please get out a pencil if you have not already done so? Getting out our pencil. I'm going to use my gray marker so it's easier to see. Let's look at page 38. Page 38 in our math book. It says, circle the heavier thing. Oh, and this looks like the scale that I just showed you. You can see that there are two sides and there's two different objects, and we're able to weigh our objects and compare those weights using this tool, this measurement tool. Looking at the first one, before we circle, which object do you think is heavier? Just thinking about a watermelon and a banana. Which object do you think would be heavier? Listen, whisper to somebody, which object do you think would be heavier? Oh, the watermelon? That's right, and we can see here that the watermelon on our scale is tipped downward. That means that all the weight is on that side because the scale is pulling down from the weight over here on this side. And the banana is up high because it's a lot lighter than the watermelon. So we can say, let's say it all together, the watermelon is heavier than the banana. Now let's say it about the banana. The banana is lighter than the watermelon. Okay, so we need to circle. It says circle the heavier things. So that means we need to circle with our pencil the heavier object, which is the watermelon. Okay, looking at the second scale, this has a bunny and a little chicken, it looks like, a little chick. Which one, looking at the scale, see one way is tilted downward. That means one object is heavier than the other object. Listen, whisper to somebody, which object is that heavier object in this picture, or on this scale? Tell me. The bunny, that's right. Would you please circle the bunny? Because, let's say it together. The bunny is heavier than the chick. Oh, and we can say it about the chick being lighter. The chick is lighter than the bunny. Very nice using comparison vocabulary. Okay, our last one. I'm seeing two different objects. This one's a balloon. I'm not sure what this is. Maybe a pool ball? Maybe a smaller kind of ball of some kind. Not sure. Can't 12. It's a ball. Smaller ball. Looking at our picture, which object do you think is heavier? Looking at our scale and which way it's tipped, which way, or which object do you think is heavier? Listen, whisper something. Tell me. Yeah, it looks like the ball is heavier. And you know what's interesting? Even though the balloon is bigger, we could say the balloon is bigger than the ball is heavier than the balloon. So sometimes smaller objects can be heavier than bigger objects. So let's circle the ball because that's our heavier object in that picture. Oops, my hand's covering it. Here we go. The ball is heavier than the balloon. Very nice. Okay, turning to page 39. Okay, this page, we're doing the same exact thing we just did. But this time, we are circling the lighter object. Looking at the first scale, remembering that when an object is heavier, the scale tips down with the weight. So looking at the first one, listen and whisper, which one do you think is the lighter object? Yeah, the feather. That's right. The feather is heavier than the cap or the hat. Let's say that together. The feather is lighter than the cap or the hat. Would you please complete these two scales, these two problems, when either now, or you can pause the video and do it now, or you can do it later. Same thing, circling the lighter object. Okay, and let's turn to the next page when you have finished with that, or if you would like to continue on now. And we are looking at page 40. Now this says count and write. We're going to be using something called non-standard, let me see if I make sure I say it right, non-standard units. So we're going to be using objects to help us figure out how much certain things weigh. So in here, it's using blocks. So let me show you on my scale. We have our marker in one side of our scale. And I'm going to use these dice. And I'm going to figure out, I have 3 dice right here in front of me. I'm going to figure out how much this marker weighs, how many dice this marker weighs. So first, I'm going to put 1 dice in there. Let me stop moving this. Is the marker lighter or heavier than the 1 dice? Yeah, it's heavier. So we need to add another dice. Let's see. Ooh. Oh, that looks just about, there we go. So now the marker weighs the same as the 2 dice. So we can see right here, our little point is on the arrow. So this marker weighs 2 dice, the same as 2 dice. So we're going to do the same thing on this page. This says count and write. So we're going to see how many math cubes, how many counting cubes the owl weighs. And then we're going to see how many math cubes the mouse weighs. And then we're going to write it right here. So would you please count with me using your pencil? How many math cubes does the owl weigh? Using your pencil. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The owl weighs 9 math cubes. Would you please write the number 9 in this box right here? The owl weighs 9 math cubes. Writing the number 9 with pencil in the first box. And then we're going to do the same thing for the mouse. Would you please put the number that shows that we see right here in this picture? Would you please count how many math cubes the mouse weighs and write it in this box? Would you show me in the air how many math cubes, drawing out the number, how many math cubes you just wrote in that box? Oh yeah, I see a lot of this number. Very nice. Did you also put a 2? Beautiful. Okay, next it says circle the heavier object, the owl or the mouse. We just figured out how many math cubes does the owl weigh? 9, that's right. And how many does the mouse weigh? 2. Is which object weighs the most, thinking about our math cubes? Is 9 more than 2, or is 2 more than 9? That's right, 9 is the bigger number. So we would circle the owl, right? Circling our owl because the owl is the heavier object. So if we had the owl on one side and the mouse on the other of our scale, the scale would tip downwards where the owl was at to show that it's a heavier object. The owl is heavier than the mouse. Okay, turning to our last page. You are going to do the exact same thing that we just did. Writing out how many math cubes our teddy bear weighs. Here, the teddy bear weighs blank math cubes. Teddy bear. And then we're counting how many math cubes the doll weighs. The doll weighs blank math cubes. And then you're going to circle the lighter object on the bottom. We just circled the heavier one on the previous page. You're going to circle the lighter object. Okay, that's all of our math pages today. Could you please finish this one right now or later whenever you have a chance? This is our homework. And then we are good to go for our math workbook today. Thank you everyone for listening. See you later.